16, play 18 holes, and they shot a pretty lot less than they normally did. So coaching the mind, changing the way they think. How do you do it? You learn to speak with a positive, learn how to speak with a positive tone, or how to say things to get them motivated. You know, going back to the beginning, what are you as a teacher? You're a motivator. Get them going, get them excited about being there. That's how you instill confidence, and obviously the time you have more confidence, you're going to play a little bit better. When to do it? All the time. You are constantly coaching the mind, you're teaching. Your toolbox. Everybody has different things they've learned along the way. My favorite picture is so, and not all these things, I don't know enough about the golf machine, but I'm going to start reading that book pretty soon. God help me. But take all these things that you've learned. I've had the opportunity to work for some pretty amazing mentors, and so when I teach, it's not like I'm teaching all Michael Green teaches. I'm not teaching all Jim McLean teaches. I'm gathering these thoughts and these ideas that I've picked up along the way. And again, it's from books, it's from people you meet, it's from lessons you've taken. But do that. Get out there and do these things. What if you screw up? Well, I screwed up. I've given bad lessons. Who's given bad lessons before, or a bad lesson? If you haven't taught, then I can understand why you didn't raise your hand. But everybody else should raise their hand. I think we've all given a bad lesson. If you haven't, then you're not learning. But don't be afraid. I mean, you're going to screw up. And again, if you're dead set on what you're teaching, you're confident that's going to get that player better. Man, teach them how to stand on their head. It's hard, but you do it. Find different routes. You know, if you're teaching a guy that you totally forgot to figure out how they learn, what they think, and you're going down this road, don't be afraid to say, okay, well, guess what? We're going to be accomplishing the same goal. We're just going to be doing it a different way. So that's where you reach back into your toolbox from wherever you learned from, or a book you read, or a tip you made, or whatever you need, and go a different route. But keep it simple. Again, going back to something they can do. If your lesson's going off the boat and freaking out, if they've done that, go back to something they can do. Get the ball in the center of the face, get it up in the air. Make them feel good. Again, coaching the mind, be positive. When they hit a good shot, tell them. But I don't think, one of the things I see too much as well, I've done a better job of shutting up this year, which is tough for me. Don't be afraid not to say anything. I mean, I've had the opportunity to work for a guy named Chris Olson, who's the new head pro at Seindale in New York, and he was McLean's director of instruction for a while. I used to watch him teach college players, and I was blown away by him just standing there and not doing anything. Even if it was, a minor change, he would just close eyes. I'm looking at him like, dude, you can do anything? Not once. He'll watch them hit balls. If they hit it, great, awesome. If it's a little off, but they're still fairly consistent and it doesn't really need to be changed, he doesn't tell them. He says, okay, grab your wedge, bring your putting or short game or whatever it is. So again, don't be afraid to shut up. It's not a bad thing. It's going to feel really awkward at first, as it did for me, because I want to tell them every time they hit a shot what they did wrong. Oh, you did that wrong. Oh, you did that wrong. But when you're doing that, you're confusing them. The great thing for teaching is self-discovery. Let your student figure it out sometimes. If they don't, then you can jump in. If they do, man, you're on the right track. Most people's expectations, especially if they play them out, are higher than they should be. Too many times I see students come out and they're shooting for the stars. I'm like, listen, let's get here first. And so bring them back to earth. Give them, make them understand that they need to accomplish this before they can move on to the next thing. And don't be afraid to tell them how you feel. They came to you for your knowledge. So be honest with them. And then if your ship is sinking, get your thoughts organized. Again, going back to the process of the lesson, everything should be organized when you're going through a lesson. When you start to spiral away, gather it all back in, go to your toolbox, start over in a sense, but make sure that you're confident while you do that. Don't let them see that you don't know what you're doing there for 1 second, because again, making those mistakes is okay. I've got a lot more to make, I can tell you that much. The conclusion of a lesson. What is your goal in the conclusion of a lesson? One thing I don't know if any of us talk about enough. Let's get some ideas here. What do you guys think is important in the conclusion? I've got a few of them listed up there. Anything you guys can think of? Yep.
A recap.
Recap? Yep, absolutely. Anybody else?
Schedule your next lesson.
Schedule your next lesson. JB, nice work. What else?
Give them a practice regimen.
Yeah, practice regimen. Absolutely. That's what we're doing. One of the things I tell people when I'm teaching is, especially in the South, compared to the North. I don't know if any of you guys live in the Northeast or not, but when you're in the Northeast, if your toilet breaks, call a plumber. They can fix it. When you're down here, man, you're trying to fix something or something. So it's so often, more often than not, you know, people get done with the roundup here and they go to the range. They're trying to figure it out. Man, they spend hours upon hours upon hours trying to figure out how to get better. Get the slice all day, how do I get rid of the slice? They swing more left, slice more, they can't figure it out. Come to me crawl on the knees, help me. Well, if you just come to me around, might not need as much work, but with that being said, you know, just make sure that you explain to them that it's not about how much you practice, it's not about how many balls you hit. I would rather my student hit 5 balls, do it with a purpose, do it correctly. I tell my students, especially at this time of year, if they aren't hitting balls and they got nothing going on in the house, and there's body drills you can do, you just learn to feel things, to see things, use the mirrors, whatever it may be. But make sure you explain that to them, because sure enough, we'll talk about supervised practice. I think that you give a lesson and you give them something to do, they're going to go out there, and some of them, and try as hard as they can to do it, but do they know if they're doing it right? I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. And if they don't, then they need to have something to give them feedback. Don't go buy a 2x4 from Home Depot. I give you some feedback. So make sure you're giving them things that when they practice, they know what they've got to do. They can make a mistake and see that they made a mistake. Because otherwise, they go hit balls for an hour. Maybe they didn't learn anything. It's a waste of time. In the conclusion, the review and recap, make sure they understand. Have them tell you what they did in the lesson. Again, listening. They tell you something and it's completely off the map, and again, we need to go back through and figure out what we did. But they should be able to tell you very simply what they're thinking, because it's not about the thoughts that you have, it's what are they, how do they associate the change that you're making, and how do they do that with their thoughts? And they could be completely off the map in regards to how they pictured what the change was, but maybe that's correct in their mind. So you got to figure that out. One of the things that we do that I haven't done enough of is sending voiceovers. If you have the ability to do that, do it. They love videos. They love to go home and sit in their office and click on these videos, and listen to you talk about the swing, watch the lines you've drawn, and call you and email you, and you're going to shut your phone off because you're going to have your entire membership call. Email, very simply, check in on how they're doing. But when they leave that lesson, think back. How did you make them feel? Were you talking the entire time? Were you listening to them? Did you care about them? Did you find out how the family was? Things like that helps go back to developing a relationship with them. Your goal is to develop a relationship with them. Did they get better? Well, I hope so.